All right. Do you want to come? Hello. Yeah, you. I'm waiting. I want you to remind us why we are here.
Okay, so the main purpose of this program is for skill training. Due to most of us being level 500 students, after here we are going to do an NSS, and then we just slip into the job markets. So we are organizing this program to train us on the skills that will help us be competent for the job markets.
All right, thank you very much, Bani. Okay, maybe we do a little bit of this whilst I'm talking. Yeah, so those on the left, the next person will come your way. All right. My name is Salami, as was introduced earlier. I'm head of training at the Marketing. I'll start by saying a little bit about what we do, and then I'll say a little bit more about some other things about the train and the purpose that has been laid out, and then later my colleagues will talk about how you recruit and how you guys can be part of our team. Okay. I think I was here last year. How many of you were here? I don't think it was in the room though. Okay. Steven. So Amalitech is let me make it simple. We are a software development company or software service delivery company. I think that's a better way to put it. Okay, so we generally produce software for other companies or mostly other companies. And one of the major ways we deliver our services is through collaborations with other sort of companies similar to us. Okay, so it's a little bit different from what we see traditionally. Sort of, there's an IT company or there's a software company, and then there's a client sitting somewhere, and then, oh, I need you to build this for me, or can you build this software for me? We don't necessarily do something like that. So it's more like we're a company, and then there is another company, and then there are other companies who need our services, and then we sort of come together to deliver the service. But usually it's something that is long term. Okay, so we will not just do like a one-off contract and then it's done. Okay, I think I'll probably there was a project that ended last year, and we had worked on it for about 8 months. Okay, there are projects which have been started like 2 years ago, and they are continuous. Okay, so what I mean by that is that the relationship we have with the company is continuing, because it might be one problem that we solved, but if we agree that it's a partnership, then we will continue to serve as their sort of solutions experts. If there's anything else that comes up that they need, we will continue to build that relationship, and then we continue to explore ways that we can work together on a long-term basis. Okay, what that does for us is that there is never really a shortage of work. Okay, there's always something to be done, and then it's set up in a way that our team and then the other teams that we work with, they understand the level that we are and the challenges that we might encounter, and then all together we try and work together to make sure that we deliver the solution that is expected in a way that the client or whoever the end user is going to be is satisfied with. Okay, I'll probably come back to it later when I talk about what you actually end up doing when you join us for your national service. But there's also an aspect of the company that delivers training. Okay, so we understand that there isn't any single person or individual who is already blessed with all of the skills that is required to do all kinds of work. So we really believe in continuous learning. That's why we have an entire, it's actually like a different company, but a part of like a bigger umbrella that is purely dedicated to training. So not training just for ourselves, but we believe that as more and more Ghanaian youth develop skills in digital skills, software development, IT services, these kinds of things, that all together the country Ghana, we can sort of enjoy the benefits of it. So one good example that I can give you to illustrate this is a few years back when COVID hit the entire world, the whole pandemic. I'm sure you all have our experiences during that time. There was a lot of realization, like across mainly the Western world, that countries like India, where they typically will extend their services to, or they will just sort of sell their services for people there because of their high population, their high knowledge in IT, to provide services to them. So like typically, a lot of companies outsource their customer service, those kinds of calls and stuff like that to India. And then it became one of those places which was heavily hit by COVID. And then a lot of companies couldn't rely on those services anymore. So like Africa and Ghana and then the rest of the world, our part of the world, we needed to step up and show the world that we are here, we can do that job, we can do it better. We have the youth. Africa is one of the continents with the highest populations of youth currently. There's a lot of us, and then we can take on these jobs. So bring these jobs down here, and then we have the capacity to do, to sort of deliver them. So as more and more of us have those skills, we continue to reassure the rest of the world that we have the capacity to be leaders when it comes to IT or digital services or software development, data science, AI, all of those stuff, that we have the capacity. And I'm sure yourselves, you have noticed over the last 5 years, we have seen increasingly, like from the government and individuals and organizations are all pushing and doing a lot of work in this area. There are a lot of agencies, at least even from the government side, that has been set up to provide training to the Ghanaian youth in these areas. Okay, so all of these are like collective efforts to sort of put Ghana on the map, that when it comes to IT, digital services, we are the one country in Africa that people should turn to for these services. Okay, and all of us are part of it. Okay. In terms of numbers, we actually have a very huge population. The number of IT graduates or computer science graduates that we churn out each year, I don't know if you have an idea of what that number is. Maybe in your university alone, how many people graduate like from IT each year? His Excellency, do you know what that number is? Or do you have an idea?
The number actually increases every year.
Yeah, roughly what would you say it is? 200 students. So do you have about 300 students in final year now?
Yes, more.
More than that. Okay, so like even if it is 200, how many universities are in Ghana? I don't know. Let's say now we have 16 regions. So if there is one university in every region and they all deliver 200 IT graduates, what would that number look like altogether in a year? Someone is doing the math, huh?
3,200.
3,200. Okay. I'm sure it's way higher than that. So, yeah, there's a lot of people in that space that keep coming out with, like, out of school with some knowledge in this area. I know that on one hand, some of you end up doing other things. I'm sure when I was in school, the 4 years that I was in university, every year I wanted to be something else, until I graduated, and then I ended up doing something else. So it's very common that you might all study IT or computer science, but some of you will end up working in other areas. You know, it's either you probably didn't like what you were doing in school, or you just realize that it's going to take a little bit more than what I'm doing to get where I want to be. So you start to consider alternatives. But there are other people who do like other programs and also end up doing IT work in the end. I think in our company, it's always interesting to find out that people who also come from like other backgrounds, like excel very well. There are people who I work with who they studied history in school, and they are like senior software developers who are working on these things. But typically, you expect that like a computer science graduate is going to be like the top guy, who's like, you know, the most experienced person, the most knowledgeable person, but it's not always the case. I'm just saying that so you know that the competition is not necessarily among the people you are sitting with. There are so many other people who are really excited about entering into this space, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Because the payoff is big, it's huge, it's very satisfying. But in the end, it is really up to you to decide if that's something you really want to do, if that's the career you really want to get into, and then be willing to put in the effort and the work to get there. It's not going to be an easy path. 4 years in school already, and I'm sure you have so many stories about moments where you feel stressed over what you were doing. You feel like, oh, why do we have to learn all of these things? Is it necessary? When will we ever have to use it? I mean, but you guys are computer science students. You are all doing computer science, right? Some of you are doing what? You can't say. You are not proud of it. What are you doing? You are studying IT. IT computer science. All right. I won't go into that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to assume all of you are pretty much the same. Because in the end, like in the title of this workshop, is the skills. It's not so much about the degree. I already mentioned people did history and then they can probably like write better code than you anyway. So whether it's IT or it's computer science or whatever combination of that exists, it doesn't matter really. Okay, so before I go on, how many of you are actually in final year here? 400. I won't ask a question, so feel free to raise your hand. Okay, so it's like the bulk of you. Is it too early to congratulate you? Okay, some of you might not graduate. Yeah, let's be real. Yeah, some of you probably still have trailing papers you have to figure out. Huh? Okay. Well, when you do get to the end and you are graduating, I'm going to be the first person to congratulate you. I mean, it's been 4 years of hard work that has led you so far. So congratulations on your upcoming graduation. Okay, I've been told I have 15 minutes. So let's go. All right, so what I really want to talk to you today about is about like the skills that you really need when you leave school. Okay, I'm just going to put it a little bit in the context of software development, IT services, and the likes of it, because that is where I believe that most of you will be looking to build a career in. Okay, even if it is not like a direct job, all of these skills I'm going to talk about today are going to be very relevant with in whatever you end up doing. Okay, but you should already know that when it comes to IT, all of this stuff that we are used to, we understand how continuously evolving it is. There are so many skills or so many technologies that were relevant just a few years ago that are not so relevant right now, or they are not sufficient. Okay, so you probably have studied the likes of HTML and CSS as you began your 4-year program, but you know that that is not enough to like sort of get you into a role or get you into doing bigger things. It's not like it's not necessary or it's not relevant. It's just not enough. Okay? And I believe you all know HTML and CSS, right? Okay. But yes, those fundamental skills will probably get you only so far, but there's a lot more that you need to know and to be willing to learn to get to the next stage, or to get a little bit higher than what you see yourself to be able to achieve now. Because in the end, it's just going to be more skills, more technologies, and your capability to learn is going to be like your biggest strength. Okay, because like I said, no one expects you to just know everything like that. But if you can show that you have the potential to continuously learn, some of you might feel like you've done that for 4 years, so it's probably sufficient. You can take your 4 years, take your degree, and then go and change the world. That you realize on your first day that it's not enough, it has expired, it's not relevant anymore. And if at that moment you are not the kind of person who is going to say, okay, fine, I understand that this is what it is. I want to continue to learn and improve my skills and learn more things and become a better person, you're just going to be stuck. Okay? Although there's more things that keep coming on, but the ability to learn, or the resources to learn, it gets a little bit more easier and more accessible. Okay, there's so many online resources available, and there are people, there are colleagues of you. If you all have that same ambition, it shouldn't be too difficult for you to support and help each other bridge those gaps of like the new knowledge, the new technologies, and the new sort of skill that is required for you to sort of take things to the next level. Okay, so the first thing I'm just going to go into is the passion for learning. If you don't have that, you're going to struggle. Okay, you need to be willing to continuously learn, and what is even more important is to be curious, because that is where you are able to sort of come up with innovative ideas. That's where like critical thinking comes into play. If you are not learning and exploring new things, you are going to be stuck with the same old knowledge that you have, and then we all know the thinking that led you into the problem is not going to get you out of it. You need to be willing to think a little bit differently, apply different skill sets, do things a little bit out of what you traditionally have known in order to find solutions to the problems that you face in life or in your career. And in software development, there's a lot of them. There's always going to be a problem. Everything you are doing is a problem, and you're trying to build or find a solution to it. Okay. If you already don't have that mindset that I am the kind of person who is going to run at challenges and be confident that I can work through it and come out at the end proud and successful, then you should probably consider doing something else. Okay, because there isn't going to be a very easy path for you. There's always going to be something you have to deal with. There's going to be a problem. There's going to be a challenge that you need to find a solution to. And being able to continuously learn also allows you to be very competitive and relevant in the industry. Okay, because between one person who only knows HTML and CSS and another person who is able to work more efficiently with frameworks, that person is quicker, the person has probably the latest knowledge and is able to work through things and produce things that is more powerful than what you are. And if it comes to hiring, and Richard will tell you, you're looking for somebody who has shown that potential, you have a track record that you have that continuous learning ability, and you are able to produce results beyond what is like minimal. Okay, and in terms of continuous learning, one way you can demonstrate that already beyond your 4-year degree is to show that, on one hand, while you are still in school, you took the initiative to learn other things, and you can show, if it is an online course you have done, something out of class that you have been able to do and complete as well. That's one way to show that you are someone who is a lifelong learner, that you want to show your employers that I am somebody who wants to continuously learn. You can see I took the initiative, I went to do this, attended this program, I learned this thing, and it's going to sort of showcase that going on in the future, you are going to continue to pursue that aspect. You continue to learn new things, and then you build up your career over time. The next thing I'll talk about is communication and teamwork. Maybe the last thing I'll talk about. Communication and teamwork. Communication always seems like one thing that we shouldn't pay attention to. I'm sure you have done some courses in like literature or African studies or something on communication, right? Did you like it? You didn't? It's going to be one of those things that you would find very surprising, like when you really get into the world of work, that beyond all your technical abilities, if you cannot communicate, you're going to be like the least favorite employee, or like nobody will probably want to work with you. I don't think we have enough time to talk about like the importance of communication and what you can do about it, but just keep in mind that it's one skill that you can't downplay its importance of. As much as you put in a lot of effort to learn all of your programming and everything else, you should have an equal or maybe even more importance that you associate with building your communication skill. And I'm just not talking about being able to stand in front of people and talk. Okay, that is one aspect of it, but like writing, being able to write and explain yourself. Okay, because you have been able to build something is one thing, but you need to be able to explain what you have built to other people. You need to be able to go into a meeting where someone is telling you what to do, for you to listen to the person, ask questions, get clarification, and not just go and say, okay, yes. You might go in and someone is describing to you something that they need you to build for them, and then it's supposed to be, let's say, a vehicle, okay, or something that can move. You don't get any clarification, and then you go ahead and you build a bicycle. Meanwhile, the person was looking for a car. Okay, that is a communication problem. You didn't listen, you didn't ask questions, you didn't get clarification. You assume you understood what has been said, and then you just went on and then you started doing something without knowing what the actual objective is or where the real destination should be. So this is just one of example of how important it is to understand how to communicate with each other. Because software development is not all about writing code. You have to communicate with your fellow developers, you have to communicate with designers, product owners. There's so many people else in that space that you have to interact with. And if you skip that, you're only going to put yourself in trouble. You either end up doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing. You just put yourself in a lot of trouble. So communication and teamwork is very key. And something that I'm not sure whether you guys do or you pay attention to is some of the tools that are required in like collaborative work, especially in the space that you are in terms of software development. Okay, maybe I have another question here. How many of you are aware of or know what version control is? I'm just going to toss it in there. Okay, His Excellency is laughing, so that is validation that you all know. So I can call someone to explain it. Okay, but yeah, so something like version control, there's so many like applications that does that. It's one way that software developers collaborate and work together. Okay, so if there's something that you are looking to learn on in addition to sort of what you are working on already, it's going to be one tool that is going to be relevant for you as you start working with other people. The most popular example is GitHub. Okay, so you should have your accounts already. You should already have like some of the projects that you are doing showing on there. You should have, an active commit history of stuff that you are doing. There's always these green boxes that they show for every day that you code. It's very nice if yours is like always on. There's a lot of green lights. Some of you are smiling. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I have a lot of green lines there that is showing that Yeah, I mean, you really mean what you're doing. You're always doing something. It's also a sign that you're also continuously learning, because as you work on projects, you always learn something new and add up to your skill set. So that's something that you should pay attention to. All right. All right. Hello? Okay. I forgot the slides. So, what Amalitech is offering basically is an opportunity for people to gain some of the skills that is required in the industry. And that's one of the reasons why we are here today. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about some of the existing programs that we have that you can really take advantage of. We know you all have like multiple interests, and then I'll try and explain as much as I can all of the various options that we have that you will be qualified for. So it's not just for the final years, but I think you are the priority right now, because we are just leaving school and want to already give you the option to work with us through the National Service Program that we have. Okay, so there are two programs that I'll talk about, the Digital Innovation and the National Service Program. Okay, can we go on? All right, so let's start with the Digital Innovation. So we have these smaller programs. I'm just saying smaller because it typically takes like a shorter duration to complete. Some of them you can literally do in a couple of weeks or up to a month or maybe a little bit more. Okay. And then it's just designed specifically for people who want to just learn something quickly that they can kind of move on with. So it's either you have an interest in that space or it's something that you're looking to explore or add to your skill sets. Okay, so like I said, they are just small bites. You can finish some of them in just a couple of weeks. There's blog writing, content creation, graphic design and animation, digital marketing, virtual assistantship, and then we have something on WordPress. Okay, so depending on what you're interested in, there's just a little bit more time. You can spend a couple hours every week, and then you can finish any of these programs within a few weeks to a month. Okay, you are allowed to enroll in multiple programs at the same time, but you typically have to complete one before you jump into the other. So we don't typically entertain you just kind of playing around with everything. So if you are interested in multiple things, then have a proper sequence. I finished with this, then I jump into this, and then you can kind of go on that way. Okay, you can find the details in the URL at the bottom there. Okay, so the National Service Program is what really brought us here today. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about what's like a few options there in terms of what the training program is. So what you should know is that we offer a training for like a pre-training for people who are about to start their national service, who are like working in or are computer science or IT students who are just about to go into their national service. Okay, it's also a prep for the people who end up working with us. But there's a little bit more that they will get to do once they sign up to actually do their national service with Amalitech. So these are generally the options that we have. There's front end, back end, and there is mobile app development. So for each specialization, the details of what you end up actually doing is going to depend on generally what your current skill sets are. Okay, so depending on where you are, we're going to have a little chat with you. I'll probably talk to you at some point to decide what will be an ideal sort of curriculum or course or like projects that will actually help you enhance your skills. So if you already know some stuff already, you can work off from that and direct you on to what the next thing you can do with the time that you have. So on one hand, we understand that it's final year, you have your project work, and there's a lot of work for you to do actually. So we try and keep this minimal and make sure it's set up in a way that you'll be able to benefit from. Okay. Okay, so you don't have a lot of time. So we set it up for like 3 months. That's 3 months that if you have a lot of time, you can probably finish it in a month. But if you need to do it in small bites within 3 months or a little bit more, you can still finish. But ideally, we can give enough time until you actually have to start your national service. Okay, but it's going to be in small bites. If you have the capacity to take on a little bit more, we can set up like additional training for you, additional projects that you can practice with, and then we can kind of give you feedback as you go on. Okay, so the actual details is going to depend, one, on where you are in your studies and what we are able to offer you. Okay, all right. What's next? Okay, so Rachel will talk to you about like the application process, what you need, and how you can sort of get into it. Later, we can have a session and do like a Q&A session about everything that we've talked about, and then we can probably wrap up the program afterwards. Okay, so thank you very much for listening.